Members, we have about 26 minutes left. As you know, the House is adjourned. They broke quorum. This is what happens when you take 2 days off and do nothing in the last 5 days. You put hard work. Let me just say it. You put hard work by all 31 senators and many House members and all those citizens that worked hard for their legislation, whatever it might be. And important legislation, whether you're for it or against it, important legislation fails. You can't take 2 days off with 5 days to go. You put yourself in a box where you're up against a deadline. And I can't even blame it on the other party for walking out. They got an opportunity to walk out because of the deadline. So I speak for the frustration of anyone watching on camera, for the frustration of 31 senators and a lieutenant governor and the people of Texas who expected us to get our job done on time. And I want to remind the people of Texas, the Texas Senate, every bill that got killed over there, we passed weeks and months ago. And they were held to the last 3 or 4 days of session, and a lot of good legislation dies. And that's not the way it's supposed to be. So we got work to do, like we have done when they were off and we worked 15 and 18-hour days. You did their work on their bills. And I am glad the governor is calling us back. Governor, thank you. We'll be back, and once again, the Senate will get the job done. And we'll hope the House does the second time around. Chair lays out the following resolution. Secretary will read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 561 by Hancock, suspending limitations on conference committee jurisdiction on Senate Bill 1281.
Chair recognizes Senator Hancock to explain his resolution.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Members, the content of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1281 reflects the original bill's intent of the focus on saving consumers money in electric transmission costs. I do move adoption of the outside the bounds resolution.
Members, questions on the adoption of the resolution? Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt, Birdwell.
31 ayes, no nays. The motion is adopted. Resolution is adopted, excuse me. Chair lays out the following Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1281. Secretary, read the caption.
Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1281 relating to a reliability assessment of the ERCOT power grid.
Chair recognizes Senator Hancock on the Conference Committee report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1281 restores a provision to ensure that our transmission building process remains focused on identifying transmission lines where the savings on congestion would be greater than the cost of building the line to load serving facilities, and we have restored that language. The bill contained an exemption of transmission facilities to have to obtain a CCN that are within 3 miles of the substations where they already have obtained the rights of way. In the Conference Committee report, we added a similar 2-mile exemption for generation. With that, I move adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1281.
Senator Hancock moves adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1281. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Bettencourt,
31 ayes and no nays. The Conference Committee report is adopted. Thank you, Senator. Chair lays out the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1648. Chair recognizes Senator Perry on the Conference Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Member, MDCP Continuity of Care. We started 1207 in the 86. This is a follow-up to it to bring clarity to objectives. With that, I move to adopt the Conference Committee report.
Senator Perry moves adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 1648. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell.
31 ayes, no nays. Conference Committee report is adopted. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Doorkeeper,
Mr. President, there's a message from the House.
admit the messenger.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I am directed by the House to inform the Senate the House taking the following action. The House has adopted the following.
Chair lays out the following resolution. Secretary, read the resolution.
Senate Resolution 546 by Huffman, suspending limitations on Conference Committee jurisdiction on House Bill 3774.
Chair recognizes Senator Huffman to explain the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I move to suspend Senate Rules 1203-1 and all other necessary rules to move adoption of the outside the bounds resolution regarding one specific change in this bill. Members, this is the omnibus courts bill that creates many courts throughout the state of Texas. The outside the bounds language in House Bill 3774 would change the effective date for the Bell County District Court to correct a drafting error in the House engrossed version of the bill. I move adoption of the resolution.
Questions on the adoption resolution? Secretary, call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt.
31 ayes and no nays. The resolution is adopted, excuse me. Chair lays out the Conference Committee report on House Bill 3774. Secretary, read the caption.
Conference Committee report on House Bill 3774 relating the operation and administration of and practice and procedure related to proceedings in the judicial branch.
Chair recognizes Senator Huffman on the Conference Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, this report does not remove anything that was included in the Senate version of the bill. It does add a few additional items that were included in the House engrossed version. Basically, there was paperwork, probate, judge salaries, very minor items, and do not basically change the bill. With that, I move adoption of the Conference Committee report.
Senator Huffman moves adoption of the Conference Committee report on Senate Bill 3774. Secretary, call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt.
31 ayes, no nays. The committee report is adopted. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Senator Huffman, you're recognized for a motion on Senate Bill 321.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. At this time, I would move to discharge the conferees and to move to concur on Senate Bill 321. Members, Senate Bill 321 was the major ERS reform bill that passed out of this chamber. The House did add an amendment that pertains to an additional retirement option to our longest serving state employees who have worked for the state for 43 and a half years or more and have maxed out at their annuity benefit. At that, I move to concur, discharge and concur on Senate Bill 321.
Senator Huffman moves to concur on Senate Bill 321. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell. (19 ayes, 12 nays). The
The motion is adopted. Chair lays out the conference committee report on House Bill 4492. Secretary, read the caption.
Conference Committee report on House Bill 4492 relating to securitizing costs associated with electric markets.
Senator Hancock, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. The Conference Committee report on House Bill 4492 reflects the additional stakeholder feedback from the Controller and the Public Utility Commission. The CCR is similar to the bill as we passed it out of the Senate and retains additional amendments from the Senate members, including an exemption from the retail load that owns its own REP, with Senator Springer offered, and a requirement that any party that benefits from this financing must return funds from the related lawsuits against the state by Senator Hinojosa. However, the Conference Committee report removed two amendments that require every entity participating in securitization to submit certain information to the Attorney General's office. The amendments were well-intentioned, but the PUC is the agency administering the program. The PUC has initial penalty authority already as the ability to refer violations to the Attorney General for those that don't pay. The Conference Committee report also removed provision that created the bill assistance program. Most costs associated with the storm were borne by retail companies and ratepayers and fixed contracts protected from energy costs. The primary purpose of this legislation is to ensure that end users and the ratepayers, the Texas consumer, is protected from sky-high energy bills, and the Conference Committee report accomplished that task. The bill still addresses three buckets of cost. The first, money that ERCOT is owed, including a defaults on invoices at ERCOT and the repayment to the ERCOT emergency cash balances to be used to pay power providers during the storm. The second bucket is the ancillary service charges above $9,000, and the third bucket is charges associated with the reliability deployment price adder. With that, Mr. President, I move adoption of the Conference Committee report on House Bill 4492.
Senator Gutierrez.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe this
What purpose?
for a few questions, Mr. President. But
Senator
first,
Hancock.
first a question for you, Mr. President. Is this the last item on tonight's agenda?
I believe it will probably be that way.
Okay. Thank you.
14 minutes left.
Thank you, Mr. President. In advance, I'll tell you, it's not my intent to talk this down. I just want to get some things on the record that have occurred in the last 24 hours here, because I think it's important for the people of Texas to know this. Last night, we received a version of this bill from the House at 11:55. Can you tell us what were the elements of that last version from our first Conference Committee report?
Pretty much what we read here, other than the provision that was added in to put back in the 2.1 cap on the legislation.
Your legislation started with a cap of 2.1%, but somehow what came over from the House was an elimination of that cap, and essentially is akin to an open ATM credit card for these companies to be able to access. Is that not correct?
Yes, Senator Gutierrez, as you know, it got here so late that it was very, very difficult to get the signatures in time, and the side-by-side took a while as well, and even when we got the side-by-side, it was the wrong side-by-side, so yes, that was gone.
Okay. And at the end of the day, I think all of us, through the time that you spent working on this bill, most of us, and all of us really, quite frankly, committed to supporting this legislation, most of us. And at all times, your legislation had a cap to limit the source of these particular loan proceeds to $2.1 billion, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and unfortunately, yesterday, what we received from the House did not have that cap. Now, this corrected committee conference report, the corrected report that we're voting on in a moment, does have a cap that does not exceed $2.1 billion. Is that correct?
Yes, and for reference, if members want to look on page 16, that is in there. As you can tell, it was added, a very unique style there.
There was also amendments from our previous legislation that had a transparency component that was very important to Senator Kolkhorst, correct?
Correct.
And that transparency component that was important for ratepayers to be able to see, unfortunately, was also stripped out from the House, correct?
Correct, and I think that's a component that we need to look at adding, in the future.
There was also a ratepayer relief component that we had talked about here on our side. The Texas Senate it made it very clear that we wanted to have some direct relief to ratepayers, correct?
Correct.
And that was stripped out from the House of Representatives.
Correct.
And the ratepayer relief program, at one point there was talk of the potentiality for a direct payment to consumers, correct?
Correct.
And even though we had a shell bill talking about ratepayer assistance programs, I believe that part of our conference committee report and the anticipated conference committee report was also a $350 credit to consumers, correct?
It was.
So that they would be able to essentially exhaust that credit of $350.
Correct.
And the House of Representatives didn't include that credit either, did they?
Correct.
And last night, with 5 minutes left, we were told to accept what they sent us or else. Was that a fair statement?
We got it with very few minutes to pass before our deadline, Senator Gutierrez.
Okay. I know that you worked very hard on this, and it was very clear from the conception, and I've been very honest with you from day one, that under no circumstances were we going to attribute more than the $2.1 billion to bucket number 2 and 3 combined. No more than the $2.1 billion. And those communications between you and I have not wavered in any way, correct?
Correct, and you're a key reason why that provision and that these changes were made today, Senator Gutierrez.
And I also understand, and we've got time here, it's 11:48. I also understand that by what we're doing today, we are setting up a program so that people would be able to not have the peak billing. Essentially, that is the net effect of what we're trying to do here, correct?
Correct, Senator Gutierrez. We're trying to do what's best for the consumer and assist them in regarding to some of these high prices.
That said, by offering the faith and credit of the state of Texas to access lower interest loans, we're trying to pass on that savings to consumers, as you have suggested many times. There is still a pass-through to consumers in this legislation, a minimal pass-through, and not the gargantuan pass-through that they might get if we did nothing. Is that a fair statement?
Any interest rate you can save on $2 billion will help consumers.
All right. We still got time. It's 11:49.
We do have to call roll.
I need to ensure this last point because I want a commitment from you, because we worked in good faith to try to get some ratepayer relief assistance. This body made it very clear in amendment number 5 that we wanted to have some direct assistance to ratepayers. It is undoubtedly clear that we're headed for a special session. Undoubtedly clear. I would like a commitment from you, sir, that we will come back and ask the governor and ask the House of Representatives to do the right thing for the people of the state of Texas, because it is only fair and right and just. We lost 200 people froze in their homes, $110 billion of property damage. A $350 credit is the least that we could do.
Thank you,
So do I
Senator
have that
Gutierrez.
commitment from you?
Yes, sir.
Governor, I think I'm good here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Johnson, what purpose?
Questions for the author.
You yield.
Yes.
Senator Hancock, I wish to explore one issue that I believe is on everyone's mind, and that is whether or not there's any benefit to consumers from securitization, particularly at the REP level. Is it your opinion and understanding from all your work in this area, as well as on this bill, that securitizing or allowing the securitization by the REPs will take pressure off of the REPs to increase rates dramatically in the near future, instead allowing them to spread out the recovery over time and therefore hitting the consumers, the ratepayers, over time instead of one big hit up front?
That's the intent.
Do you believe that's the effect?
Yes, I do believe that's what it's going to, when we pass this bill, I believe that's what will take place.
And there is, in that respect, a benefit to consumers.
Absolutely.
It may not be the only benefit we can give to consumers, but it is a benefit to consumers.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Senator Hancock.
Senator West, what purpose?
Question of the author,
You yield.
Yes.
and this is only going to be a couple of minutes. I mean, the reality is when we start talking about the benefit to consumers, is the benefit that their rates won't go up much higher. I mean, the fact is that we don't have any direct contributions to ratepayers that will be experiencing increases in rates as a result of having to pay the interest rate over the next 30 years in this bill. Is that correct?
Yes, Senator West, but a reduction in any interest rate on $2 billion is significant and will create savings to ratepayers.
It should create savings.
Correct.
That's not a guarantee, though, is it?
No guarantee, even if we, with the pass through to those entities, that the ratepayers or whatever's hit. You're correct.
Thank you.
Senator Hancock moves adoption of the Conference Committee report on House Bill 4492. Secretary will call the roll.
Alvarado, Betancourt, Birdwell, Blanco, Buckingham, Campbell, Creighton, Eckhart, Gutierrez, Hall, Hancock, Hinojosa, Huffman, Hughes, Johnson, Colcourse, Lucio, Menendez, Miles, Nelson, Nichols, Paxton, Perry, Powell, Schwertner, Sulliger, Springer, Taylor, West, Whitmire, and Zaffarini.
26 ayes, 5 nays. The Conference Committee report is adopted. Thank you, Senator.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President.
Senator Gutierrez.
President, I know it's late, but could I ask that the comments between myself and Senator Hancock be placed in the journal?
Any objection to remarks being put in the journal? Motion is adopted. Chair announces the following signing of the following in the presence of the Senate.
HCR 113, House Bills 4, 18, 19, 39, 80, 115, 135, 368, 549, 558, 1400, 1753, 2827, 2879, 3215, 3289, 3363, 3375, 3510, 3606, 3682, 3746, 3800, 3833, 4048, 4218, 4356, 4474, 4578, 4588, 4589, 4591, 4592, 4594, 4605, 4617, HCR 67. Senate Bills 6, 13, 19, 20, 24, 25, 30, 36, 63, 69, 112, 219, 225, 279, 331, 348, 369, 398, 424, 437, 504, 598, 617, 623, 640, 746, 768, 790, 801, 1019, 1088, 1102, 1132, 1351, 1385, 1421, 1458, 1531, 1575, 1580, 1668, 1696, 1772, 1856, 1895, 1896, 1911, 1990, 1997, SCRs 3150, 54, and 56.
Members, I just want to make a brief statement as we go to adjournment. The governor made a statement the other day that things could get done if the two chambers would stop fighting. The Senate was never fighting, we were working. We did our job. And the governor can count on the Senate doing our job again. And on this bill that we just passed, yesterday, or 2 nights ago, working late, this body put on an amendment on 4492, which would have created a framework to create almost $3 billion for ratepayers, residential ratepayers. They ignored us on that amendment. Senator Schwertner called early in the evening, can we sit down and talk about this amendment? While Senator Hancock was working the other side of the bill. No response. No response whatsoever. And then today, when we tried to make that happen again, the message was, we're out of time. So, Governor, when you call us back for a special session, the Senate's willing to put in the time. We lost bills, and we lost help for ratepayers because the clock ran out on the House because it was managed poorly. That's the bottom line. And when we come back, I want the public to know, the Senate that led on Senate Bill 2 and 3, again, important bills to reform ERCOT and PUC and winterization. We passed in April, I guess it was, and we get the bills back with 5 days to go without the proper time to work with the House, which we like to do, to negotiate the best bill we can for the people of Texas. We are not on a timeline, Governor, when you bring us back. Whatever it takes, we're going to do it right and not let the clock run out on the people of Texas. And we passed 4492 today to help ERCOT with its liquidity and some other companies. But the next time for this Lieutenant Governor that we're going to spend billions of dollars concerning the storm, it's going to be to help the people of Texas and the ratepayers. Or I won't call that bill up. I want to be on the record now to say that. We can help ERCOT, we can help businesses, but we have to help the people of Texas and their electric bills. And this is the last time I'm going to call up a bill that doesn't have money in there for ratepayers. We're only doing it because of the deadline. Many of us would have preferred to wait and wait to the special session, but because of the fair concern that you had and I respect, and I agree with, we had to make sure ERCOT had the liquidity to continue to operate during the summer. Outside of that, we would have been a no vote on this bill because we did not have the time to go through this bill like we normally do on major legislation. So that's where we are. I want the House to clearly hear it. Whatever we do in the future, we're helping ratepayers. That's what we said we were going to do when we came in. This body sent a letter signed by 28 or 29 senators to the governor that we wanted to peel back the 32 hours of overpricing that clearly was overpriced. And you passed a bill, I believe unanimously, or 28, 29 votes, to do just that. And the House never even respected this body to even hear the bill. So we started this session, the Texas Senate wanted to roll back the overpricing and help ratepayers. We finished the session wanting to help ratepayers. And for 5 months, nothing happened in that other chamber. And here's where we end it. We're not going to let that happen again. Whether we're here 30 days or multiple sessions. We're not going to let that happen again. We're not going to be played by their bad management of their calendar. You've had a great session, members. We've passed great legislation. We've worked together as a team. I'm proud of you. We have one more day tomorrow. Dean, you're recognized for a highly privileged motion.
Mr. President, first I would announce we will caucus in the morning at 10 o'clock to attend to some administrative duties. And with that notice, I would now move that we adjourn until 10:30. And of course, tomorrow we have our President Pro Tem program, so it'll be a busy morning. But we'll start in caucus at 10, come on the floor at 10:30. We have a luncheon tomorrow, some business.
Members, without objection, any objection? We adjourn until 10:30 a.m. tomorrow. Thank you.